Hey, John.
Hello.
So, after that amazing chocolate mousse you made me last week, I decided I would go out into the garden and gather some herbs, because I do that. I'm super into that. And I've made you this vitamin drink.
Great.
It looks really good. I know it looks like chalk with some black pepper in it, maybe, but I promise it's not that. It's this really cool herb that I learned about. It's called tannis root. Ever heard of it?
I have not, but...
Perfect. Great. No problem. Here you go. Give it a try. Be back later. Bye. Just kidding. You shouldn't drink that.
I mean, I'm not averse to trying that. I don't know what that means. I'm trying to be receptive.
Tonight on Open Mic Night of the Living Dead, we're going to finish up our talk about Rosemary's Baby.
The creature's creeping right behind you. I hope you finally find a little slice of peace and light. 'Cause it comes crashing down tonight. Welcome to the open mic. When we call your name, you'll die. But there's no need to dread. This is the open mic night of the living dead.
All right.
Okay, that was good, right? I know you usually do the intros for the deep dives,
That's okay.
but I need to spread my wings.
You had an idea.
Stretch my wings?
What was your drink going to do to me?
I don't know. Something funny.
Oh, that's good.
Something really funny that I don't know, make you pick up your socks. Is that a thing? That's a funny wife-husband thing. I'm Rachel.
I'm John.
We're a married couple.
We met at an open mic night, and
Yeah,
we
we
like
did.
horror movies.
And so we put it together and do this.
And if you missed last week's episode, it was part 1 of our deep dive of Rosemary's Baby, and we wisely decided ahead of time to split it into 2 parts.
We did.
So if you missed that and you want to catch up, go back and listen to that first, or not. You can also just listen to this.
Yeah.
But also, because it is a deep dive, we will remind you that we will be covering all the spoilers.
Many spoilers, and also content-wise, we're going to be talking about some of the themes and things present in the film. So today we will be talking about some heavy topics, including domestic abuse, coercive control, and sexual assault.
And if you have not watched the movie yet, I think it's still streaming on Paramount Plus, at least at the time that we're recording this. So, like we both said, we really love this movie. Check it out if you haven't, or join us for the ride.
Yeah.
What was the other thing I was going to say?
I'm not sure. You didn't tell me.
Usually during our deep dives, also, we each write a song inspired by the movie that we're covering, and we perform it for each other for the first time, live, raw. And that'll be happening in this episode. It didn't happen last week because it was a 2-parter.
Right. So you've had to wait 3 weeks for original music.
Oh my goodness.
I can't believe it. How did you do it?
Why did you make a funny face when I said raw?
Because it was just a funny word.
Well, because I'm like trying to prepare them mentally that I might sing bad or something.
No.
Not to be confused with Sinbad.
And great. That was good. And we just watched Raw recently, the movie.
Yeah.
And you called it out in the last episode too. So I wasn't sure if that's what was happening.
Oh, well, and also, I was just going to mention last week when I was talking about the cinematographer, William A. Fraker, I mentioned that he also did the cinematography for The Exorcist 2, Heretic, and I mentioned that was on our personal wheel that we used to decide what movie we're going to watch each evening. And out of the 40 movies on the wheel, that was what spun, and Rachel fell asleep half an hour in.
Look, I got limited energy. I'm working with limited resources, and sometimes that happens. So we'll just have to finish it soon.
Well, there's 90 minutes left, so
Great.
You're going to have to take some caffeine or something.
Power through. Perfect.
Take some caffeine.
Take some caffeine.
That's how Rachel does it.
Hey, I think it's probably time for story time.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Story time.
Are you ready for this? Because I'm going to start with characters, and I've got some stuff to say.
Great. There's no Trevor in this movie for you to hate.
Oh, but we can talk about that because guy's name should be Trevor, and we'll get there. And we'll explain that comment too. So Rosemary Woodhouse, though, we have to start with Rosemary. Rosemary's from Omaha, living in the big city, lapsed Catholic. She does not have an active faith practice, which comes up sometimes in conversation with the Castevettes, but she is lapsed, so she has still some sort of sense of connection to that religion, but she's kind of loose. She doesn't have a belief system that would kind of maybe protect her from some of this. Rosemary is a young bride. She wants a home and children, and she's super supportive of her husband. The film is completely from her point of view. Rosemary is the one that we are connected to, connected with, and rooting for this whole time. Such an incredibly likable protagonist, which is why part of what happens to her, I think, is so difficult.
There was a word for her that I kept trying to come up with, and I struggle with words sometimes, and it's not naive. I don't think that she's naive, but there's a word that's like lighter than naive.
I'm not sure. I think she is naive. I think that's correct, but maybe you'll come up with the word. I'm not sure which one you're thinking
And
of.
I'm not to say, we said last time that some people complain that she should have figured things out sooner, and that's not what I mean.
No, but I think that she is set up as a character, like the fact that she's from Omaha, Nebraska, right? That she's from the sticks, that she's in the big city, that she's kind of innocent of some of the things that could happen.
And she's kind of got, at least at the start until things start to go bad, she's kind of got rose-colored glasses.
Yeah, she's super supportive of her husband, who's not like a famous actor, but he's a working actor, as you pointed out. Let's see, just a bunch of kind of random notes. There was one point where she was so joyful when she felt the baby kicking. She thought the baby was dead at first. And I wrote, the joy on her face, but also like, that's not how it happens. Like the baby doesn't just all of a sudden one day start kicking furiously. Like it's like little kicks here and there.
Well, that's because she'd stopped drinking the drink, right?
Right, because she stopped having that vitamin drink. She was so susceptible and easily manipulated by all the people in her life, but not because she's it's not a character flaw. Like it's just nothing in her life had exposed her to the fact that she could be betrayed in that way, right? Nothing. She just trusted her husband as she should have. She had no connections. She didn't really have any friends. We're going to talk about coercive control and domestic violence in a little bit. But her isolation, she is just so alone. I wrote down smart girl hiding money. Like she knew something was up. She was trying to escape, right? So she had money hidden and she was so smart. She did everything that she should have done, but it wasn't enough, which is partially why this is so scary. I did write just like Smile, since of course we covered Smile a few weeks ago and have recently watched it. She seems like she's having a psychotic break to anybody on the outside, like Dr. Hill, for example. She sounds crazy, but she's actually correct. And we've talked before about how that fear of not being listened to or being trapped, even though you know the truth and nobody around you knows it, that's super scary. That's deeply terrifying. Having spent some time working in institutions, including
You're catching my.
That's a new word. Including, I worked at mental hospital for a brief period, and also I have done ministry in jails. And so I've worked in some institutions, and the lack of control that people who are institutionalized, and while Rosemary's not in an institution here, she is kind of part of a really closed circuit in which everything about her is controlled. And so, yeah, I just love Rosemary. I think Mia Farrow's performance is unbelievable, outstanding. Hard to believe she wasn't nominated. Oh, and then like the worst part where Rosemary thinks that he has promised them the baby for their rituals. Like she thinks that he's going to sacrifice their baby and she's trying to protect the baby and has no idea that the baby is the product, or like she's just a vessel. This isn't about using the baby for something. And yeah, Rosemary is above all, she wants to be a mother. And that strong pull of motherhood, even at the very end, brings her to be a mother to the baby. Speaking of, where did I put... I wrote this down somewhere. The baby in the book has a name. His name is actually Andrew, and I forget the middle name.
I almost feel like they mention it at the end, too.
Andrew Hutch Woodhouse, maybe. Or like in the book, she names the baby. Oh, they call him something else. Adrian. They call the baby Adrian, but in one of the interviews that I read, they pointed out that in the book, there's a little scene after where the movie ends where you kind of see her actually nurturing the child, and she names him, which is an even bigger statement, right? Like if she names him, she's claiming him. So there's no doubt that the character of Rosemary, as written by Ira Levin, was and chose to be a mother, that her overwhelming desire to be a mother overwhelmed all the other things. The fact that this was a child of rape, that this is the child of Satan, all of those things.
Well, I certainly like how they ended it in the movie where it's slightly more ambiguous.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It was really, it works perfectly for the movie. Yeah, that's all. That's what I had on Rosemary. We're going to talk about her more in terms of murder, mayhem, and themes, obviously, but just a few observations about her. Did you have anything else on Rosemary?
Not at the moment.
Cool. Let's move on to Guy, who, as you mentioned, should definitely be named Trevor. And I'm pretty sure I looked at you and said, I'm surprised his name isn't Trevor.
Maybe they just didn't really have that name back then. Maybe Guy was the Trevor of 1968.
Well, Guy has really strong Trevor energy. And just a quick brief, if you have not listened from the very beginning of our podcast, I really dislike guys named Trevor specifically because of Candyman and Smile, where the partners are both named Trevor and they suck. And Guy sucks, like major Trevor energy. He is a mediocre actor who never quite could make it on his own. He makes a deal with the devil for success, like not even greatness, but like just to like get a lead in a play over some other guy, right? Like, and eventually he has big dreams of moving on, and all he has to do is facilitate the sexual assault of his wife. No big deal. It does not seem like the coven has to try very hard to get Guy to go along with them. He performs like a lot of loving acts towards Rosemary, but like clearly does not actually love her or see her as a person of her own, which again was a lot more common back then. He is just a total scumbag. When she wakes up from being drugged, wakes up and has scratches all over her body, and he says, I didn't want to miss baby night. He kind of casually frames the fact that he just watched his wife get raped by the devil and like makes light of it. The whole thing, just hate him so much. Hate him so much.
And that would be so confusing. Like her reaction, I think, is valid. Like she doesn't, I think maybe some people might get more angry on the surface than she did after that happens. But I think, she was drugged and...
Well, marital rape was not even seen as a crime until the 80s in the United States. Like a wife could not be raped by her husband. Speaking of, his excuse to cover up letting her be assaulted was by telling her, like, yeah, you were passed out, but I had sex with you anyway, which is rape, even if it's your husband doing it. So he like covers up the Satan rape by telling her, like, yeah, I raped you. And she's like, oh, cool, because it would be acceptable. Like her body was only to be used for her husband's pleasure. What a chilling indictment of what it was to be a young woman in that time. And for many years before that, right? Like marital rape was not even, it did not exist under the law. He's so manipulative of her. Like he manipulates her into eating the moose because she doesn't want to. And then he's like, oh, but Minnie works so hard. Like and then of course she spits it in the napkin and gets one over on him, which didn't matter because she still ended up getting drugged. I wrote down in a few places, Guy won't even look at her. Good, be ashamed. He should be ashamed. And again, the actor does such an incredible job showing us what Guy is feeling. Like he does have the decency to feel at least a little bit ashamed. Like he's not, but that's almost worse. Like if he was just pure evil, maybe that would be easier to bear than this guy who just like kind of let these old people use his wife and like knows it's wrong, but he only shows shame when he gets caught. Like, ugh, fuck Trevor. I mean, Guy. That's all I have for Guy. I could just keep talking about how much he sucks, but Minnie Castevet. What a cool character, man. The first thing I noticed, wondering if you noticed this, did she remind you of Gladys?
Oh, I guess.
From
Now that you say it,
Weapons?
I didn't really think about that, but yeah.
It totally hit me that obviously Gladys from Weapons would probably have taken inspiration from Minnie Castevet, but given, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that was part of it, but kind of that little old lady, eccentric neighbor, she controls using social pressure. So she controls Rosemary and is part of her coercion by showing up uninvited, coming inside, bringing Laura, what was her name? Laura Lynn, bringing her in, and they both just take out their crafts and start working, like just completely imposing on her in a way that seems unintentional. Like if I had an old lady neighbor like that who was doing stuff like that, I would not immediately assume that she meant me harm. I would assume that she was old and lonely and wanted companionship. And so it's just so seemingly innocuous, and yet we know that it is not. The invasiveness at first, Rosemary's like, oh, they're so cute, they're so great. And then Guy like becomes best friends with them. And she's like, actually, I want my young friends over. And yeah, Rosemary's friends. Oh, Minnie was so mad when she was having a party without her. But she wasn't mad, actually. She just tried to insert herself again. Very conniving, very manipulative.
Well, because she didn't want outside influence on everything that was going on too.
Exactly. And it's just the way that she quickly adapted to finding out that Rosemary was having a party without her. And then she's like, oh, well, I could come and serve dishes. Like instantly pivoting, never coming straight out and being like, you need to do this. If anybody in Rosemary's life had been directly controlling, she might have seen it. She's a smart person. Like she's bright and quick and clever and sweet, and people like her. And I think if anybody had tried to come out at her, who knows? I don't know how she would have responded. Also, you said something while we were watching it that I just had to bring up. So when Minnie has a whistle to hail cabs, and she blew the whistle when she finds Rosemary outside waiting for Hutch, who was already in a coma, and we don't know that. And then Minnie blows the whistle and you said, hailing cabs and Satan, which I wrote down.
I don't remember that, but sounds like me.
It does sound like it was good. It was a good line.
Something I just realized, which is not completely connected, but when they first are seeing the apartment, and then later Minnie comes back after they've moved in, and so all of the previous tenant stuff is gone. The previous tenant was growing tons of herbs. She was probably part of the coven.
Yeah, she wrote, there was like notes and it said, I can no longer be a part of or whatever. And she had put that furniture up against the wall between hers and the Castevet's apartment. So I think the old lady was a part of the coven and decided she didn't want to be, but didn't the realtor guy, didn't he say, oh, she was in a coma for weeks before she actually died?
Oh.
I just thought of that part now. So the coven obviously, like she wanted out, didn't want to do these things. Because they were going to impregnate Terry, right? And then for whatever reason, maybe because did they kill Terry because Rosemary showed up?
I think once they figured out that, had they already met, was Terry's death before their dinner? Their first dinner over at the Castevets?
I'm not sure. I think it was after.
But
or no, because they met the Castevets downstairs for the first time. Like, I think.
You mean right when Terry had been found?
Yes.
Okay.
I thought Rosemary and Guy, that was the first time they met the Castevets, was downstairs.
It must have been.
When Terry died. So, but Terry had met her in the basement doing laundry. So I wonder.
I don't know. We'll talk about that more in Murder Mayhem.
All right. Roman Castevet, anagram of Stephen Marcato, son of Adrian. Oh, Adrian Marcato. That's why they wanted to name the baby Adrian. Adrian Marcato was a Satanist in the past of the Bramford of the building who claimed to have summoned the devil and was attacked by a mob in the building's lobby. One note I was reading, Sidney Blackmore plays Roman's conviction with no camp and no wink. just a true believer, delivering God is dead, Satan lives, the year is one. He is very like normal. He's not weird or creepy. He's just a normal, affable grandfather, the same way Minnie is kind of an eccentric, nosy old lady. Yeah, played expertly by the cast. Dr. Abraham Saperstein, his medical authority replaces all other sources of wisdom for Rosemary. You know, he tells her, I told you not to read any books, don't talk to your friends. And like, that was crazy. That was what birthing was like during those decades. It was taken away from the midwives and kind of the families, and it was medicalized and put in the hands of doctors. So like, it's not a stretch to think that an OBGYN would tell that to a young woman.
Well, except she had one previously who was much more.
She did, Dr. Hill, who of course is so much a part of the system that he delivers Rosemary back into it because he thinks she's having a psychotic break. Yeah, I thought you weren't going to read books. The isolation.
But it doesn't seem that Dr. Hill was closing her off to all of that.
No, not at all. Although we don't know for sure. We get the vibe that maybe.
Because also Hutch tells her that Saperstein delivered one of his babies.
Right.
And it's clear, obviously, when they make her, Minnie basically makes her go to Saperstein that he's, well, and then he's there at the end. So he's a part of it. So the whole, like, don't read a book, don't take the vitamins that everybody else is taking.
Oh, it's totally Satanist stuff and not traditional, like, OBGYN advice. However, because medicine was so in the hand of the patriarchy, I don't love using that word in that way, but because doctors were the ultimate authority, a young, vulnerable woman is going to listen to her doctor and do what he says, no matter what, even though he was giving her satanic advice. Like, I think Dr. Hill would probably have spoken to her in the same way, and she would have followed his instructions in the same way, but just would have given her, like, you know, take regular vitamins, not homemade herbal drinks. Speaking of Dr. Hill, that scene is so devastatingly heartbreaking. In the moment where he brings her to Saperstein, she thinks she's free, and then he like puts his hand on her arm in a very deliberate way to kind of steer her towards the door. And every man in this movie just manhandles Rosemary, like takes her by the arm and guides her and shows her where to go. So even her very movement is controlled by the men who are around her. The one exception being Hutch, who is the one person who takes her seriously and puts himself at risk even though he doesn't know it. And then the coven puts him in a coma. The moment she almost gets help when he tells her to meet him, and poor Rosemary misses her opportunity. It's so bleak, right? I feel like that's what connects it to a lot of modern horror that might be considered elevated horror, the bleakness of the human condition and the human spirit. Whether or not you believe in Satanists and magic and covens and all of that, humans suck. That is for surezies. And whether you think this could actually happen this way, the coercion and control certainly have and do still happen, have happened and still do happen. But that's all I have for characters, really.
Excellent.
So that's it. How about some murder and mayhem? Oh my goodness. In my notes under murder mayhem, I have, after Terry's suicide, we meet the Castavets.
Helpful.
So we could have avoided that whole conversation.
Never.
I put it in the wrong place. Sorry. All right, cool. Murder mayhem.
And myths.
And myths. Murder mayhem and myths. I love that.
And I did this a little bit differently. Obviously, this movie doesn't have as much murder. It has plenty of mayhem, but even less mayhem than maybe some of the other movies that have less murder, but lots of mayhem. So I've just got some major points here, and we can discuss or not, or however we go about it. But really, the first warning sign is Terry's death, right?
Yes.
You know, they've moved into this dream apartment, and Rosemary has recently met Terry, who seems like she could be a great friend, but Terry has also revealed that she's been taken in by the Castavets, and that, she's recovering from, it sounds like, a serious drug addiction. And the Castavets are kind of acting like surrogate parents and have, provided for her and gotten her back on the road to recovery. She has one brother, right? Terry does.
Yeah, in the Navy,
Yeah.
right?
She seems like she's in a good place. Obviously, we only see her for a short conversation in the laundry room. And there's also weird stuff happens in the laundry room, right? There's like some sort of glass breaks and they're like, we got to get out of here. This place is creepy.
Like a can falls over or something.
Can we do this together moving forward? And shortly thereafter, we get a scene where there's police and bystanders surrounding Terry's body, and she's clearly fallen from a great height up from the Castavets. What were they on, floor 7?
I can't remember. I should.
Doesn't really matter. Either way, Terry was there dead, and everybody's saying it's a suicide. And I guess we don't really know exactly what happened, right? She couldn't have been pushed by the Castavets, could she?
Well, it would be tough for them to show up.
Right.
So it must have been one of the other coven members.
Good point. There are other people involved in this that easily could have done that. Thank you. Yes. Because then I was thinking maybe they used some sort of dark magic or something.
That was the other thing, is did they like convince her to jump with like a spell? But I think probably like one of the nice little old ladies just came over and boop.
And so obviously that's a tragic moment, and it's early in the movie, and it's right after that, like we've discovered, that they meet the Castavets. Looking back as viewers, that's when we should be putting 2 and 2 together. But, life carries on, and that's when Terry's necklace full of tannis root is transferred to Rosemary, the stinky, stinky tannis root, which we haven't really talked about. Did you want to say anything about tannis root?
Tannis root is not real as far as I have found, but it is like in the world of the film, it is a root that's used by witches to, I don't know, invoke Satan's presence, or it's like used in their rituals. It's kind of very vague.
And in the book that Hutch post-mortemly donated to Rosemary, I think it's called The Devil's Root in that book also.
Yes, yes, that's an alternate name for it.
Then the next big point that happens that the first time you're watching it, you don't necessarily understand what's happening yet, but Guy's betrayal begins. And the first thing that happens is that he gets that part over the...
Right.
And, this is after they've had their dinner and become closer with the Castavets, Guy and Rosemary. And we learn much later on that they had swapped ties. And we learned that...
Oh, that he swapped ties with Baumgarten? What's his name?
Yeah, something like that. The actor who goes blind, they had swapped ties somewhere along the way, which Rosemary finds out after calling Baumgart to, she's realizing, she's read in the book that if they are able to get a possession of somebody that they want to curse, essentially, then they're able to do it through that method. So Rosemary calls him to find out if at any point Guy came into possession of anything of Baumgart's.
Yeah, that was clever of her, getting that out of Baumgart. She was like, oh, and he had that thing that was yours. The what? The thing. And he's like, oh, my tie.
I just want to see the scene where they switch ties and how Guy brought that up. He'd be like, hey, you want to switch ties? I've never had that moment in my life, but I'm sure somewhere along the way during an audition or something, being like, I'll give you my tie. I think your tie would be better for this audition or something like that.
I could see that too, but yeah, that we'll have to just wonder about forever.
But basically, at first, Guy, there's this part that he really wants him to play. He doesn't get the part because Baumgart gets it, and he gets a phone call. We talked about the significance of the phone calls in the last episode. He gets the news that he now has the part due to the misfortune of Baumgart going blind suddenly, which would be awful. When you're first watching it, I don't really remember my first watch, whether I suspected anything about that.
Yeah, you don't really realize that it's mayhem at that point. You're
Right.
just like, oh, it's just a plot point.
So while all this is going on, the Castavets are inserting themselves into Guy and Rosemary's life more, and Guy is obviously becoming more friendly with the Castavets, especially, and he's in and out a lot. Guy is.
Yeah, he goes, and in that we're with Rosemary, right? Like we don't know where Guy goes. We never see Guy without Rosemary. We don't know who these people are without her around. So yeah, he's always out going doing stuff. Very handy being an actor, I guess.
And I think it's safe to assume now that a lot of that time's being spent next door, learning about all the covenry? Isn't that something else?
Coventry is the thing, but not well, learn about witch shit.
Witch shit. So they're having a nice dinner in. They've decided, Guy's got the calendar circled. He's like, we're going to have babies now. We've got our apartment. You know, I'm sure things are going to go good for me. Let's start a family that we've always talked about. And let's have a romantic dinner. Blah, blah, blah. He's cooked up some steak or something. I'm not sure what he's cooked up. But, you know, perfect timing. Minnie knocks at the door. And of course, Rosemary's like, don't let her in, Guy. And she doesn't come in. So it seems like a victory.
Right.
But Minnie's dropped off some desserts because she probably figures that Guy can't put together some mousse. And Rosemary comments, something's wrong with this mousse. Chalky, all of that stuff. And Guy manipulates her into eating it. And then he goes off momentarily and she spits out a large chunk of it into her napkin, which was very wise. But the question is, do you think she would have been better off if she...
I was just going to say, if she had slept through the whole thing. I don't think that sleeping through the whole thing... I wonder if she didn't have those kind of like half memories, if she would have been so quick to kind of figure out that there were witches, or like wouldn't have been able to... But even with the memories, she still didn't think she'd been raped by Satan.
Right.
She still thought that it was Guy's baby and that they were sacrificing it to Satan. I don't think she necessarily put together the fact that she was raped with that. Yeah, it probably would have been better if she had slept the whole time. I think one of the places where I really start to love Rosemary is in that scene where where Guy kind of manipulates her into eating it, and she does, and you're like, and then she spits it out. It's like that little victory, right? Even though the victory is pointless in the face of everything that she's facing, I think it's that resistance, that kind of rebellion in Rosemary that like keeps her from being a Barbara, for lack of a better term.
Well, and so this all leads to the ritual scene that you're talking about, which plays out at first to seem like a dream, right? Especially to Rosemary.
Yes.
And she's kind of in and out, and all of a sudden she's surrounded by the coven members, which she probably could attribute to being a dream. And we see like Guy talking to Minnie and being like, they're surprised, right? That she seems to be kind of awake.
Well, he's like, yeah, she seems like she's awake.
And, you know, they reassure him, it's fine. Just let this happen. And that's when the devil comes in and does the devil's work.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Rosemary wakes up the next day and has the whole conversation with Guy that you were talking about earlier. So obviously that's the big turning point in the film. And it's really the only scene at all like that that's really more surreal, dreamlike.
Yeah, the rest of the mayhem is pretty much off screen.
So the next thing that we see is Rosemary's deterioration as her pregnancy begins to progress. She's suffering all the pain and the isolation and the continued manipulation through her husband, through her new doctor, Dr. Saperstein. And time moves along. We mentioned that last episode that it's kind of like The Exorcist this way, that like larger periods of time seem to pass without the movie having to like distinctly say that. They show us through the passage of time. Like Rosemary decides to go to meet Hutch. She wants to see a familiar face.
Yeah.
And it's a couple of weeks before Christmas, which is a fun time to be in New York City, by the way. And usually there's a lot more snow, or at least there's usually some snow by that time, by the time there's some Christmas shopping. Not always, but And of course, Minnie basically follows her. She wants to see what's up, and Hutch never shows up, which is a huge deal because he's been really beyond Guy, who we know now is not reliable or has Rosemary's best interest in mind. Hutch was always there. He was kind of like a surrogate father, right? She's from the Midwest, and he seems to care about her quite a bit, but he doesn't show up for their meeting. And she, eventually finds out he's suddenly in a coma. But Minnie shows up and basically corrals Rosemary back in, like, it's okay, let's just head back home. And then all of a sudden it's the New Year's party.
Right.
In the Castevet's house, where we now know that these are like all the Coven members that we see several times throughout the movie in different parts. Like there's the one guy who maybe was introduced as a dentist or something, and later on he's driving the car.
Yeah.
When they take Rosemary out of Dr. Hill's office. But so it's kind of tough to like isolate a specific point in her pregnancy, that it's just like sort of that whole period. And she gets the haircut.
Yeah, guy's a dick about that.
Yeah, that's like rule number 1.
Yeah.
Don't react negatively to the haircut. I mean, to be fair, at least he noticed she got a haircut. That's the tricky part, I find. Well,
it's one of the first times Guy has been directly controlling and cruel to her. Like the rest of the time, he's always kind of like, suave and making moves and kind of hides his coercion beneath nice words. And with the haircut, oh man, he gets nasty.
And Rosemary's looking worse and worse. I don't know if she actually is thinner, but she appears thinner and obviously much paler. She looks a lot more sickly. And, she's telling people, well, my doctor said it's okay, that sometimes you lose weight before you start gaining it. She decides she's going to have a party for her friends. And nobody over 60 allowed, I think is what she said. And so, like, she spends that whole time defending her appearance, basically. And her friends are being like, this isn't okay. Like, you need better support. Like, do this. Because she's also suffering, like, severe stomach pains this whole time.
Yeah, super bad stomach pain.
Somewhere in here, Hutch dies.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a tragedy for Rosemary. Guy doesn't even go to the funeral. And I'm imagining that was maybe partly due to some sort of guilt that Guy was feeling that he didn't go. And maybe I'm giving Guy too much credit, but I do think that, when they moved to this apartment, he was never imagining that he was going to be getting involved with a coven in order to improve his life and his success and all of that. So things turned quickly, and I believe, like you were saying, he might have a shred of guilt over some of these things, some sense of shame.
Yeah, which is worse somehow. Because, like, if you're a sociopath or a psychopath and you have no empathy for other humans, then it's almost more understandable that you would do something as grotesque as facilitate the rape of your wife. And, like, the fact that he feels bad about it means he knows it's wrong and he did it anyway. That's almost worse.
The one thing that does come out of Hutch's death, which I don't think I think he was going to give Rosemary this book when they were supposed to meet, obviously.
That would have been better.
But luckily it got to her through his assistant or whoever.
Yeah, she was an assistant, I think.
So it's through this, and she finds out that the woman tells Rosemary the name is an anagram. He told me to tell you that. I don't know what that means. And at first she thinks it means the title of the book. So she's looking through this book and she's realizing, oh, well, now she's already thought that there's something weird going on, some sort of conspiracy against her. But this kind of really implants the idea that there's some sort of witchcraft involved. So she breaks out the Scrabble pieces, which I thought was a nice touch. And an even better touch is that they showed them playing Scrabble earlier in the movie.
Yeah, I liked that too.
Establishing that the Scrabble's there, so it's not just her picking out random Scrabble things all of a sudden. Not that it would have made much of a difference, but I think that...
It's just a nice detail.
Yeah. And so she's going through, I don't know if you wrote down any of the other Because at first she's using the title of the book.
Yeah, I didn't write down any of the others.
So she learns that there's this story about this witch guy, Adrian Marcato, who was involved with the Bramford building, and that he had a son named Stephen Marcato. And she's looking at, there's like a picture of this Stephen Marcato at like age 13 or something. And she realizes he like has the same eyes as Roman, who, you know, somebody's commented on his eyes previously, which was also great. She takes the Scrabble pieces and realizes that it's not the title of the book that is an anagram. It is, in fact, Roman Castevet's name is an anagram for Stephen Marcato. So now she's really certain. And at least at this point, it's proven to her, because I'm sure through all of this, she's wondering if she's crazy, like many of the protagonists in some of the other movies we've discussed so far. Like, is this crazy thing I believe real?
Right.
Or am I actually just crazy? And while she's got it mostly figured out, she is not quite put together that Dr. Saperstein's in on it, because she first goes to him.
Yeah, that's tough.
I like that scene too, where she's waiting for a really long time to see Saperstein because she doesn't have an appointment. But it's really urgent. She really wants to talk to him. She's got her hospital bag too. Like, she wants out of the apartment. She wants to go to the hospital and start the process. But it is his administrative assistant who says, "Hey, you don't smell that terrible smell anymore that you usually do," which is
strange compliment.
It's a strange compliment, but it's because Rosemary has removed her Tannis root necklace. And Rosemary's like, "Yeah, I got rid of that." And the assistant was like, "Now if we could just convince the doctor to do the same thing." And Rosemary puts two and two together and understands now that Saperstein's been in on it the whole time. She rushes out. We get that fantastic telephone booth scene where she's trying to reach Dr. Hill. It's an emergency. I've got to talk to him. Have him call me back here at this telephone booth, which was a cool thing you could do if back in the day, because all the telephone booths had numbers. So you could have people call you at the telephone booth. Did you ever do that?
Nope.
Never received a...
Never.
But one thing we used to do, I don't know if you ever did this, you'd call collect. Calling collect was like, you'd make a phone call, but the person you were calling had to pay for it. So you could call collect. We used to do this a lot. I was on the golf team because I was so cool and athletic. Mm-hmm. And when golf practice was over, we would call whoever was supposed to pick us up. We would call collect so we didn't have to use a quarter. And when it said, "This is a collect call from," you would say, "Golf's over, come pick me up."
Yes, I think I definitely used that a few times in high school.
And I also love how William Castle, we know now, was standing outside the phone booth, and you're afraid that it's somebody from the Coven and that she's not going to, but it's just a dude, right?
Yep, exactly.
Nice little, it's like the only moment when it's not what you suspect.
Yeah, poor Rosemary.
And then she goes to Dr. Hill. He seems to understand on some level that something's up, but unfortunately, that is not the case.
I mean, she sounds batshit crazy.
Yeah.
Like, you can't blame him.
But he does say some things like, well, there are people who worship Satan, and it's possible, and there are people who suffer conspiracies, and it's possible that's what's happening. Why don't you come in here? You need some rest. Lie down. And you think, okay, Rosemary's got the help she needs. But then she wakes up to Saperstein and Guy dragging her out of there, taking her back to the apartment. She gets ahead of them, tries to lock them out, but they work their way back in. There's that Scooby-Doo moment where she's made it into the apartment, and is she calling somebody on the phone?
Yeah, she's trying to call her friend from the party.
And she's facing us with the doorway behind her, and you see some of the Coven members running behind her in the apartment.
Right, yes.
Because presumably maybe they came in through the Castevet's.
Through the secret door, yeah.
And from then on, Rosemary's at the mercy of the Coven. She wakes up and she's had the baby. There's somebody overseeing her. They tell her the baby has not survived the birth, which would be doubly awful after everything you've been through to find out that after all that, the baby hasn't made it. Because, she was still hoping, presumably, that she might be able to save the baby from this sort of sacrifice or this ritual use she's assuming that they're going to take the baby for. Again, like you said, not knowing that this is the son of Satan. But then one fateful night or afternoon, after she's decided not to take the medicine that they've been giving her, the pills, which some sort of sedative, I'm guessing.
Yeah, totally.
She hears a baby crying through the wall. And at first guy tries to tell her, there's new neighbors. They have a baby. But she's too wise for that at this point. She decides to go find out for herself. She goes through the secret door. Now the Castevet's apartment, which was once devoid of the paintings that were clearly missing from the walls. They're all like satanic paintings and all of this. And she walks in to the parlor where you see the black bassinet. You see the black bassinet in the corner, and everybody's just chilling, having cocktails, their own conversations. She's brought a knife along with her, which was smart.
Very smart.
They see her walk in, and really only one person screams, one woman. Everybody else is chill about it and try to convince her and that, hey, this is your baby, but it's Satan's baby too, which should have been the title of the sequel.
Yeah, perfect.
So here at the end, it does seem like that Rosemary decides, regardless of the genesis of this child, it is still my child. She basically tells Laurel Lynn, get your hands off my baby's bassinet. You're rocking it too hard. Let me calm down the baby. And it sort of ends on her having almost like a look of love for the baby, right?
Yeah. No, she's fully in by the end.
This is really a famous ending. The reveal that it's not just a baby for sacrifice. This is Satan's baby. That is
Great.
Pretty much what I had for the mayhem points. Nobody else dies, right? Other than Hutch and Terry?
Nobody else dies.
So that brings us to the Rosemary's Baby curse.
Ah, yes, the myths.
There's a lot of these movies that supposedly have a curse tied to them. I think that there's actually a show on Shudder that's like cursed films or something like that. And each episode covers kind of these aspects. I'm not sure if there's an episode on Rosemary's Baby, but I would imagine that there is. I haven't watched it, but there's something they're calling the Rosemary's Baby curse. Obviously, I'm not on here saying that there was a real curse, but there's just several things that people have tied together to say that the making of this movie created a curse for those involved. One of the first things is William Castle's illness. During the production of this film, obviously the book was already out. We mentioned it was a bestseller. He was basically receiving letters. I'm not sure if it was like directly from a church specifically, but like he was getting hate mail from religious groups claiming that the film brought evil into the world. And then he started suffering severe kidney problems, severe kidney stones. He was like hospitalized. And at least according to some things I've read, whether or not they're true, who's to be sure? But, when he was kind of out in the hospital, he was reportedly hallucinating scenes from the film in his delirium, screaming things like, "Rosemary, for God's sake, drop the knife." And I don't think he died from that, but we did mention before that the composer for this movie did die a young and sudden death at age 37, less than a year after this movie came out. So that was number 2, after he had fallen and suffered severe head injury. He succumbed to that injury and died. Later on, of course, the Dakota was where John Lennon was assassinated in 1980, and right in the same area, sort of where the the Wood house, Rosemary and Guy enter to first see the apartment. And then there were all these like rumors that there were occult consultants and supernatural occurrences and real rituals taking place with this movie. Those are obviously the most unfounded and unproven. These other events I'm mentioning did happen. Obviously, you can't tie them to a curse, but how many coincidences do you need before? Are you one of those people that doesn't believe in coincidences, Rachel?
I mean, not really. So I guess I believe in curses.
So Rachel's team curse.
Guess. Maybe it just attracted some really bad juju and people who were involved got some stuff stuck to them.
But obviously we're not saying that that's necessarily true.
Yeah, I don't know anything.
The events are real. The supernatural connection is certainly not supported, but the one that I save for last, of course, is Sharon Tate's association and the Manson murders. So Sharon Tate at this time was married to Roman Polanski, the screenwriter and director of Rosemary's Baby. And like you mentioned, it is reported she might have been an uncredited extra in the Young People Party. But just a year later, Sharon Tate was murdered in 1969 while she was pregnant. So oftentimes this gets brought up in conjunction with Rosemary's Baby as well. If we did like true crime podcasts, we could cover the Manson family situation. There's certainly a lot of podcasts about that already, but we're not going to go into all of that.
Yeah, good thing we picked a podcast market that there's not many people in already, like true crime. That would have been crazy.
I mean, I feel like I can't tell if you're being sarcastic.
I am being sarcastic.
Okay,
I feel like there's a lot of horror podcasts and a lot of true crime podcasts.
To be fair, I do think there are less horror podcasts than true crime podcasts.
I don't really know because I have no sense.
Finally, we've got it on record. All right, let me just print it. The whole episode is just going to be the intro and then you being, I have no sense.
That sounds like a plan.
All right, well, take me into themes.
Okay, you ready to get really depressed?
Try to keep it.
I know. It's not exactly light. No, I think that it's part of why this movie is so effective, and that's what we're trying to figure out today is like what...
Except that's part of this movie, is that I never feel like that down by it. Like some of the bleaker movies we've watched before that I really like.
Leave you feeling kind of bummed out.
Right.
And this doesn't leave you feeling bummed out.
Which is part of, I think, when we were talking about why we don't know why we like this movie so much, I think that's part of it is that...
Like it should be more like it is depressing if you look at it through these lenses. I've read a lot of articles about this in the last couple weeks. So I think definitely it made me mad while I was watching it. And I got really mad at Guy and pointing it out and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think maybe it's that ambiguous ending that does it. I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about bodily autonomy and reproductive coercion. So Rosemary's body is sold without her knowledge. I mean, Guy sells her to the coven, basically. She's drugged, she's raped, she's lied to about her symptoms by being told that she's been raped. She's forbidden from getting any extra knowledge about her pregnancy, and she's isolated from everyone who might help her, like Hutch and her other friends. There are plenty of things to check out in the show notes if you are interested in reading any more about this, but one of the readings that I saw from Karen Valerius was that the coven's relationship to Rosemary's pregnancy mirrors pro-life politics and its positioning of fetal interest over the carrier. So basically making the argument that Rosemary was just a vessel, that they just wanted the baby to be born. And so Rosemary had no rights. It didn't matter that it hurt her, that it pained her, that the most important thing was the child. There's a really great essay in a journal called Public Books that frames the film as one of the most precise depictions of coercive control ever filmed. So coercive control happens when a partner, and it's usually, but it's not always a man, this can go both ways, all genders, severely limits his intimate partner in their basic rights by restricting access to friends or family, medical care, money, children, education, information, or reality itself. I did not notice this the last time we watched this movie. This time as I watched it, I was like, this is like textbook how an abuser isolates their victim from the other people that care about them. That is what the Coven and Guy are doing. Even if the Coven didn't exist, Guy himself kind of just isolates Rosemary. Another important piece about all this is the context of 1968, right? So in 1968, abortion was illegal in every state. You could not get an abortion easily. So the fact that Rosemary brings it up at one point and says, I'm not getting an abortion, like that would not have been an easy decision to make, even if she did want one. Birth control was only recently made legal. And marital rape, as I mentioned before, didn't exist until 1984. So being forced to carry a child and sexual violence were kind of supported by the structure of the law in the 1960s. So there was no, even if Rosemary went to the police with what had happened to her, she had no recourse, right? So she was completely helpless and locked in this system that gave her no power. And so, yeah, the Satanists are bad and Satan raping her is bad, but without Guy's coercive control of her, she would not have been taken by the Coven. There'd be no satanic baby. Like, his sin is the biggest sin in this movie. His abuse of her is the part that I think terrifies me the most. Oh, when she finds out about it, he says to her, they promised you wouldn't be hurt, and you haven't been. Not really. And I wrote in my notes, rape isn't hurting, apparently. Like Guy really thought that handing his wife's body over would not hurt her. Like, what? But I think that that's not an uncommonly held belief, especially during that time period. And also he was like tracking her ovulation cycle and stuff. That would seem less unusual now, but I still think that was kind of unusual to have like her days marked on a calendar. That to me was kind of a part of this tapestry of the reproductive control, reproductive coercion, that she was kind of forced or tricked into having this baby. It's like people putting holes in condoms so that either they get pregnant or they get their partner pregnant. You know what I mean? Like that is a violation of the highest level, or lying to your partner about being on birth control. Like, these are all examples of reproductive coercion. And so I think one of the things that scared me the most or hits me the hardest in this movie are those themes that are just done so, so well. Gaslighting as a mechanism.
That's not a mechanism.
Stop it.
There you go. You wanted me to interject.
I did, and it's perfect. Every authority figure in Rosemary's life is either deceiving her actively or is passively enabling it. Like Dr. Hill still enabled her like control.
I wonder if, because it was as soon as he heard Saperstein that he had a shift. Like, it seemed like up to a point he was accepting that maybe there was something to what she was saying. As soon as she said Saperstein, he was like, hands off.
Yeah, he believed in the system. So we as the audience, the other way that this works really brilliantly is it's not just like part of the narrative, it's part of the narrative structure, so that we as viewers are included in that. Like, we're also being gaslit with Rosemary. Right? And we see a little bit more than she does. Like, we see some facial expressions that she doesn't see. So we have more knowledge than she does. But really, we are also kind of wondering, like, whether or not there were actually some early reviews that suggested that Rosemary delusionally concocted the whole thing and none of her experience was real. So there were people who watched that movie and were like, that couldn't happen. No husband would ever do such a thing. She just had a psychotic break, which is doing what Guy and the Satanists do to Rosemary, is negating her suffering and denying it. So I thought that was super interesting.
Well, it's kind of like what we talked about in Candyman. There are some theories out there that maybe she was crazy the whole time, which is an interesting theory. It's possible. Some people lose their minds.
Yep.
But I think it's clear, this one especially, that it's so like ongoing from an early stage. It's very clear that they are up to no good, especially like you hear the incantations through the wall pretty real early.
Right. And I think that, I think in both of those movies, it would be really hard to argue that our protagonist is not a reliable narrator. right? Like, I think that we have to believe the protagonist as we follow them since we're in their place. But I do think that it's interesting that people would want to try and read this that way. Along with those two themes, we've also got homemaking as a trap. So kind of, and this has a little bit to do with coercive control, but also just the role of women in society. So like the apartment that they move into is everything that Rosemary wants. She, puts up wallpaper and puts paper in the drawers and moves the furniture around. And she loves it, and yet it becomes her prison at the end. And so the building itself has a history of murder and witchcraft. The sisters who cooked and ate children, I guess that would be a little bit of murder or mayhem. But this building has never been safe. It has always been like an unsafe place, but Rosemary's still trying to make it into a home. And for Rosemary, her very home is the site of violation, which sucks. It's not supposed to be that way. Let's see. We've got the religious crisis of the 1960s. The whole God is dead. Did you notice that? The time. Yep. So that magazine cover came out in April of 1966. Had a lot of controversy. And then in the end, Roman says, God is dead, Satan lives, the year is one. And also the year is 1966. They announced it at the New Year's party. So that's the same year as the Time magazine cover.
Well, and also the baby's born in June of 66.
That's right.
666.
666. That's right. So also, Church of Satan was legally incorporated in 1966, the same year that the novel was written.
Interesting.
So there was a lot of upheaval in the American understanding of religion and specifically Christianity. We've got Vietnam in the background. There's the Kennedy and the King assassinations. You've got the counterculture kind of causing waves throughout different parts of culture. And so a story about a woman being manipulated and coerced in that environment, I think also landed differently. And the fact that Rosemary is a lapsed Catholic, I think, is a piece of that, because that was a thing that I think before the 60s was not as common. Like, people were very religious. And so being a lapsed Catholic in that way, I think that places her very specifically in that cultural conversation. Two more, which we've kind of talked a little bit about. So marriage as complicity. So Guy doesn't betray Rosemary despite loving her. He just doesn't prioritize her. Like, again, he's not evil. He's just selfish, which is almost more evil. Ira Levin has said that Guy is the villain of the novel, that Satan is a metaphor and like the way through which Guy is bad to his wife, but is not. Satan's like the medium. The film has been described as accidentally feminist, made by a director who would later demonstrate he saw women exactly as Guy sees Rosemary. Like, some of the things that the director has said about the crime that he committed and the things that have been said in his defense about the crime that he committed are the very kinds of things that Guy would say about Rosemary. It is the same kind of viewing of a woman's body that Guy has for Rosemary. And so that's just something you can't kind of extract from the text, right? But it still feels and reads as very feminist, as showing, Rosemary's continued will to fight even in the face of everything going against her. And then the other thing that I think connects this to a lot of other horror movies is the focus on paranoia and isolation. There were three films in 1968. So we also had Night of the Living Dead. And then I saw the film Targets. I don't know if you know about that.
I mentioned that it came out, but I don't know anything about it.
Yes. So I guess, this is another place for us to dive a little deeper. Those three, Rosemary's Baby, Night of the Living Dead, and Targets were credited with redefining the horror genre for the following 2 decades. All three center on paranoia as their primary horror engine. And I guess comparing this to Night of the Living Dead, it is the humans and their distrust and paranoia of one another that ends up in their ultimate demise. And in this film, again, primary fear is the paranoia and the isolation. And then you can check up on Targets, or we can dive deeper into that. But it makes a lot of sense that as the traditional institutions of American society were starting to crumble and were no longer providing the support that they had, particularly post-World War II, where you've got Vietnam, which was seen very differently by the public than previous wars, where religion is no longer holding people together, that you've got these movies that focus on paranoia and isolation and not being able to trust those who are in charge. And so in this movie, obviously, Rosemary's never alone in the apartment, and yet she is so alone, as you mentioned last week, talking about being in the city and still being super alone.
I think both the cat and the dog are snoring.
I think you're right. He seems really happy, though, and I don't want to wake him up.
Well, I don't want snoring in the podcast.
No, I know. It's fair. It's really cute snoring, though.
Ted.
Ted. Hey, Ted.
You can keep sleeping. Stop snoring.
Ted.
More again.
He's not even moving his head. Hey, Ted. Oh, there he is. Hi, buddy. There you are. Stop snoring. That's what I do to you. And when you're snoring, I say, hey, stop snoring.
Do you know what I do when you're snoring?
What?
I just let you keep snoring.
Oh.
I go downstairs.
Let's see. Oh, I did try to look up. This is just one little last bit. What does she whisper when she sees the painting of the church on fire? We stopped that. I found on a message board, this is not confirmed. I have not found anybody else to confirm it, but one person on a message board said, easy, easy, you've got her too high, which is something she remembers from the conception dream. So she whispers something that she heard them say to her when she was being raped, which would make sense if she's looking at a picture of like a church on fire, right? That she would like remember Satan all of a sudden. Anyway, so that is, yeah, that's themes. Heavy, rich stuff, man.
For sure.
Who's your favorite character?
I've gone back and forth on this a little bit. I think in terms of who I like as a person, obviously Rosemary's a good choice, but I really like Hutch.
Yeah.
He's just caring and listening and supportive. But as a character, I got to go with Minnie.
Okay.
She's just so fun. Her performance, even though she's doing it because she's a terrible person.
She's awful.
Unless
yeah.
you are a Satanist, and then maybe she's a great person.
That's true. I suppose it is all subjective. I think I've got to go with Rosemary. I know that's almost a gimme, but she's just such an amazing character. Do you have a favorite quote?
I don't.
Okay, I do, and I think you liked it too, so it can also be yours. We can share it. Shut up, you're in Dubrovnik, I don't hear you. Where she's, like, Roman is saying something. It's at the very end scene, right? Where she walks in and finds the baby, and Roman tries to say something, and she says, just shut up, you're in Dubrovnik, I don't hear you. Like, very deadpan, flat delivery, like, being like, it was just great. It was great delivery, great moment. And just, again, that little spark that Rosemary has that makes you just be like, yes, go girl, go.
I did like Roman's introduction when they first go into the Castevet's apartment for the dinner, where he's like, I've been everywhere. Name a place. I've been there.
Yeah, name a place. I've been there. I wrote that down too. That was a really cool line. I guess that's it for story time.
All right. Well, it's the moment you've all been waiting for.
Woohoo.
At least that I've been. I've got my song ready. What about you?
I'm ready.
This week's songwriting gimmick that we randomly spun is split perspectives, which when we spun it, we kind of discussed it, a song that might have different characters' perspectives or however we decide to perceive it.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what I was thinking when I first started. And I'll tell you a bit more here when I get us set up. Should we figure out who goes first?
Let's do it.
All right. Pick.
Heads.
It is tails.
You pick.
I'll let you go first, baby.
Oh, thanks, sugar.
All right. It's time for the open mic. We're going to get set up, and we'll be back in just a second.
Ladies and gents, we proudly present for
All right, so some songs that I write could be about anything, even if they're inspired by the movie. And this song's not one of those songs. This is very clearly about this movie. But split perspective, right, was our gimmick. And so this song, I'm not going to, you listen, but I think you'll see what I did here. This song is just called Rosemary. So I'm not even trying to pretend, but I don't really have an intro. There's our key.
You are the one for me. I could not ever be alone without you right by my side. And I know you're feeling strange. Need you to rearrange your hopes and your dreams. Make space for mine. You're such a good wife to me, my dear sweet little Rosemary. Without you I could never be what I was meant to be. Oh, Rosemary, yeah. You are the perfect doll. We waited oh so long to find you a vessel bright and pure. Our master will be so pleased. Just drink this and you will be the mother you always could become. You're such a good mom to be, our sweet little Rosemary. Without you we could never be who our Lord wants us to be. Oh, Rosemary. Mama, I call for you. You know it isn't true. They took me and told you I was gone, but your heart remains steadfast. Our bond will always last, and my Father's plans will come to pass. You're such a good mom to me, my sweet mother Rosemary. I was never meant to be, but you've served your purpose well, oh, Rosemary. I've been tossed to and fro, knew what I shouldn't know, trusted them all, oh what a fool. It isn't me they see, just what I can do or be. There's no one who loves me just for me. I'm nothing and nobody, who even is Rosemary, only ever seem to be what they think they want and need. Oh, Rosemary.
You got lots of perspectives.
I got all the perspectives. I split it into 4. I think one of the things that hits me the most about this movie is how Rosemary is just a tool for everybody else. And so considering split perspective, everyone in this movie has a plan, has an idea for Rosemary's purpose, and none of them give a shit about Rosemary. And so that was what I was thinking about when I wrote this song. I could not tell what to do between the verses, like the end of the chorus and the verse. So that's why that was different each time a little bit. Yeah, once again, not totally like sure on the accompaniment bit, but that was the shape that this one took. So yeah, that's Rosemary.
Well, I think we could do some interesting stuff with that when we record a demo.
Cool. Sounds good.
Like split perspectives in the instrumentation from verse to verse.
Oh, I really like that idea, playing with it. Because I do have to say, my chord progressions have not been super creative lately. But when you start writing 2 songs a month, then I guess there's only 7 notes. I mean, that's not true.
No.
There's 7
whose music class have you been taking?
white notes on the piano. No, I know there's not just 7, but like I mostly play in 3 or 4 keys, let's be honest. And my chord progression, you know, I guess I just want to be more exciting with it, and I'm not feeling that lately. But I'm a word person anyway. You're the music guru.
Well, time will tell. You just got to give yourself like a weird chord.
Yeah.
If you want to do something different.
I know, I guess. And I did that a little bit. I think my last song had a Disney chord, as you called it. So, ooh, I'm really branching out.
Look out, Mencken. You're making me crazy.
Actually, that makes a lot of sense. I think that was probably most of the music I listened to as a child was Disney music. All right, let's switch it up. Your turn, yeah?
Yes.
All right, cool.
All right, here we go. Pump up the jams. Pump up the jams. Is that what? You don't have a mic, you can't really respond because I'm using your mic for my guitar. So yes, Rosemary's Baby, song inspired by it, written by John, that's me. It's split perspectives time, and I went a little bit of a different route. The second that we landed on split perspectives, I knew that this is in the ballpark of what I was going to do. Not like musically or lyrically, but just the perspectives I was splitting. And for now, this song's called Big Enough, although I think that there's a better title, but I don't want to like give it away yet. All right, let's see how we do. Big Enough. I've gotta call my wife, because I'm sure she'll end my life. Because I promised I'd be home in time to eat. But I got caught up once again, mostly napping at my desk. So I may be safer if I stay here in the city. But I'll try to make amends, or I'll be sleeping at my friends. So lady, please get off the phone, or I'll be locked out of my home. This phone booth ain't big enough for the 2 of us. This phone booth ain't big enough for the 2 of us. It's the most important call, the outcome means it all. This phone booth ain't big enough for the 2 of us. Well, I've gotta call my doc, and I know that he'll be shocked when I explain that I'm at odds with a coven. It's a grand conspiracy, and they're only after me and this bun that I have been baking in the oven. It's far more than concern, and there is nowhere left to turn. There's a witch outside this booth, and there's nothing I can do. This phone booth ain't big enough for the 2 of us. This phone booth ain't big enough for the 2 of us. It's the most important call, the outcome means it all. This phone booth ain't big enough for the 2 of us. For the 2 of us, this phone booth ain't big enough for
the two of us. The most important call, the outcome means it all. This phone booth ain't big enough for the two of us.
I couldn't figure out what you were writing about, obviously, until I did, and then I thought it was great. That's so awesome. Like, which guy? Is it Hutch? Like, did Hutch say something about his wife wanting him to come home? But no, it's phone booth guy. And wait, and who is that? That was the producer.
William Castle.
That's right. That's right.
But we don't know his character at all.
We don't, so that gives you a lot to work with. That was awesome. That was really good.
Thank you. I don't know. Must be just how I was sitting. I did not have any problems getting air during the chorus when I was writing this.
Oh, it always happens that way at the open mic, though. Like something that went fine while you were practicing goes wrong when you perform. That's just the way it is.
But I thought that was a fun exercise.
That was cool. Yeah.
And otherwise, I think we're losing light.
I think we are. That was good.
All right, let's
do it.
All right, we are losing light.
Yeah, we are.
This has been fun. 2 episodes on Rosemary's Baby, one of my favorites.
We really weren't sure about this. We went back and forth on the 2-episode thing, but I think it was the better choice.
Yeah, and it gave us a little more freedom to expand in some areas.
Yeah, there really was quite a bit here.
So, I think it's time for me to spin the wheel of horror.
Yes, I'm so excited.
And if this Rosemary's Baby is your first time with us, the wheel of horror is the randomizer wheel in an app that I have on my phone. And that is how we randomly select the next movie we're going to watch. And currently there's 13 films on it. Those films are Terrifier, Weapons, Pieces, It Follows, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Audition, The Strangers, Alien, Sleepaway Camp, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Carrie, 30 Days of Night, and Child's Play. And of course, we also have the ever-elusive sequel slots, which, if we spin one of those, I have another wheel for sequels for all the movies we've already done deep dives for. So we'd like to eventually get to some sequels here, I think. Eventually. Be nice.
That would be nice.
But let us see what our next movie will be. And we do know, we've mentioned before that in July, we'll be doing a 2-part episode on Jaws. So this is going to be our last random selection before the Jaws episode.
Yeah, also, we will have, this is going to be our 22nd film that you're about to spin, and we're going to close out our first year of the podcast with this 22nd film.
Crazy.
Our deep dive will be episode 51, and our encore will be episode 52. A full year of the open mic.
Because this episode right now is 49.
Yes, it is.
Next week, we'll be doing an encore episode. I'm not sure we've picked a theme for that yet. And we'll also be recording a studio demo of one of those 2 songs you've just heard.
Mm-hmm.
But
so here it is. What is the last film of our first year of podcasting?
hopefully not one that requires 2 parts, because we don't have that built into the schedule.
We don't. We're going to have to add a week to the year. A year to the week. Sometimes weeks feel like years. Okay.
Sequel.
Oh my goodness, that's so great. For the first time.
All right, hold on a second.
Okay.
All right, you might not know it, but we just took a quick pause because I wanted to make sure that my sequel was completely up to date, and surprisingly it was. Oh, this is so exciting.
Like, we've been waiting for this almost a whole year.
I'm like stunned.
I know. And how great is it? It's the last movie we're doing this year.
Which is probably good because hopefully that means it won't necessarily require a proper coverage of it won't require 2 episodes. I think most of these, since they're sequels, hopefully will avoid that. But
yeah, why don't you go through what sequels do we have?
All right, I just hit the shuffle button, so they're not in the order of the movies how we've covered them, but here they are. Candyman 2, Scream 2, Psycho 2, Dawn of the Dead, because we mentioned earlier, I think episodes and episodes ago, that, you know, the Night of the Living Dead franchise is still a true franchise to some degree. It's all the same universe. So we're considering Dawn of the Dead as the sequel to Night of the Living Dead, The Exorcist 2, The Heretic, Fright Night 2, Evil Dead 2, Friday the 13th, Part 2, The Descent 2, Final Destination 2, Smile 2, and Slumber Party Massacre 2. The one thing I didn't mention was Halloween, and that is because if we spin Halloween, wheels upon wheels upon wheels, I have a wheel to determine which timeline we're going to follow this first time. All right? Because there are 3 timelines, excluding the Rob Zombie Halloweens. We'll get to those when we're dead. But here we go.
Okay, this is so exciting because some of these movies are really good and some of them are really crap. And I think all of them are really fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun to talk about whatever we land on here. What's it going to be? I'm almost shaking, but I'm not.
That's really funny. What is it? What is it? I don't have my glasses on. Tell me what it says.
What's the one you want to watch the least?
Is it Smile 2?
It is.
You are fucking kidding me.
Nope.
The wheel wants what the wheel wants.
All right.
Oh no.
So next week we will...
All the movies.
And we will spin for a gimmick.
Great.
Which I have not properly organized my gimmick wheel yet. I need to update it.
How about just, survive? How about that for a gimmick? Just don't die of fear.
No promises.
Oh, dude, my nervous system cannot.
Well, and just think of it this way. Once we watch that, there's no more smiles yet.
I guess so. Did you have A Quiet Place 2 on that wheel?
I'm not sure.
I can't remember if you did or not.
Freestyle for the
great.
gimmicks.
I hate this movie. Dun 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 dun. That's freestyle, right? It's fine.
I didn't have A Quiet Place on here.
That's okay.
I'm adding it now though, so.
Yeah, add it now. I mean, I think that a lot of this is subjective. And I think with A Quiet Place, yeah, I would love to watch the sequel. And who knows, we could spin the sequel the next 6 movies and watch all these sequels.
Indeed, but
that's the joy of the Wheel of Horror. You never know what you're going to get.
So next week, we've got an encore coming.
Yep.
Of some shape or form. Join us, including studio demo of one of those hot tracks you just heard a few minutes ago.
Hot tracks.
And in 2 weeks, it hasn't been long since we covered the first Smile, but we will be covering Smile 2, which I really, really enjoy. If you cannot tell, I'm excited.
You enjoy me suffering next to you on the couch.
I mean, it's definitely an added bonus.
Oh, God.
It almost assures most of the time you're not going to sleep through it.
Yeah, or for like 3 days after. And then I'm exhausted for watching gems like Exorcist 2. All right, cool. I got this, though. It's fine.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us on this ride that was Rosemary's Baby. Don't take any Tannis root.
Definitely not. And feel free to tell that old lady who keeps coming over to go away.
Especially if the food she's bringing is like not delicious. We didn't talk about that. It sounded like her food wasn't even that tasty.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Tell her to just beat it. Beat feet.
Beat feet, old lady.
Beat feet, old lady. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
See ya.